This right here is the R7 450, a legendary GPU, but does it still hold up and can it game in 2026? So guys, this is the R7 450 right here. Let's go and first go over its specs, okay? So, you might recognize this GPU, okay? It's got 512 cores, 32 TMUs, 16 ROPs, 4 gigs of GDDR5 running through a 128-bit bus. You might recognize this from Budget Build's video, or actually my video on it. Well, I didn't really make a video on it yet. This is the first video I've ever made on this card. But actually, I threw it into this PC right here, okay? It's got a 500 gig SSD now, because I did a little bit of SSD swappage, and also it's got 4 gigs less RAM than what originally came with in the $50 PC video. So yeah, that's what the R7 450 is from, the $50 PC video. So yeah, this thing has already seen some use on my channel anyways. But yeah, actually, if you notice something here, the screws for the display ports are missing here for the I/O shield, because, well, I had to take the I/O shield off in order to actually fit it into a full-size computer, because then this little thing is going to get in the way. So yeah, so you can see here, it's got some decent performance in it. It's basically just a really, really beefed up HD 7750. Also, why I say HD, it's HD. I don't know, I'm just thinking of a funny YouTuber of mine. I'm pretty sure his channel icon's a frog. I was just thinking HD. And also I was thinking Budget Build's video at the time. So yeah, if I go ahead and bring you guys back to the original page here, this is the 2 gig version right here, because for some strange reason the 2 gig version of this card actually has relative performance. So if we trust Tech Power up here, we can see that's around an HD 6790 or HD 5830 level performance, but it's definitely better than a GTX 650 as well. This is based on a 7750, which means that this was like one of the lower end GCN cards back in the day. You see here, back in the day, the HD 7000 series, there were 3 tiers, okay? You had this HD 77 series, the HD 78 series, and the HD 79 series. 77 was low end, 78 was mid range, 79 was high end, okay? So yeah, basically this is a re-release of a rebrand of a beefed up low end card from 2012. Yeah, this thing ain't gonna do great, but look here, it's got 4 gigs of VRAM, okay? That's actually a pretty decent amount, especially in today's economy. So yeah, it's also that cooler, it overheats a little bit in the small form factor computer, the $50 computer, but my main PC, it actually only gets up to 75 degrees, so it's not too bad. Oh, and also I forgot to point something out here, okay? I did try overclocking it, and it wouldn't. MS Afterburn just locks the clocks for some reason on this thing. It lets me change the slider, but I can only decrease the clock speed, not increase it, which is kind of stupid, but I don't know, it says that's already maxed out. Oh, and also another thing that I have to point out, the MSI Afterburner GPU usage thing, and also the clock speed, and basically just about everything except for the fan speed and temperature are completely off, okay? Like this thing, MSI Afterburner says it jumps between 63 and 100% utilization for some reason. It's kind of strange, but yeah, just do me a favor and ignore it, okay? But yeah, this card costs like 25 to 30 bucks for the 4 gig variant. If you want the 2 gig variant, it costs like 15 to 20, although it's only got 2 gigs of VRAM, so yeah. But yeah, this card's still a pretty decent GPU. Like, I mean, it's got 4 gigs of VRAM, it's got 128-bit GDDR5 bus, it's like the same bus width as a 5060. It's got some performance, okay? It's got a little life left in it. This is definitely useful for any office computers as well. It's small form factor. And actually, that's why I shoved in the $50 PC, because that actually originally was a free office PC. And I just shoved an SSD and this GPU into it, and boom, 50 bucks. Can play a lot of games at 720p, maybe even 1080 if you like Minecraft. But yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and go on with the benchmarks, shall we? As well, you already know the specs here. Let me just go ahead and pull it up for you one last time on the $500 laptop. And yeah, those are the specs of it. Anyways, let's get on with the benchmarks, shall we? Starting off right in the deep end with the bad result here, we have GTA 5 Enhanced, and it is running terribly. At 1080p with the minimum preset used, the game is not playable. This was presumably due to driver issues, as the GPU is not being used properly. At 1080p minimum, we saw averages of 17 FPS with 1% was down to 14. Not very playable. Maybe different drivers that are newer, or maybe even the stock ones, as these are mod drivers currently that we're using, will run better. Overall, GTA 5 Enhanced is a solid fail, but kind of expected, as this game needs 2024 drivers and DirectX 12.0 support, but this little R7 has DirectX 11.1 support at most, and only 2023 drivers. On to the next benchmark. Next up, with a game that was running better, we have Minecraft Java running at 1080p with 13 chunks of render distance, and the Silder's light shaders being used. At these pretty mid settings, the shaders look meh, the game was barely running. At these settings, the R7 pulls an average of 33 FPS with 1% lows down to 20. The GPU is struggling majorly, as this is a low-end rebrand of a GPU from 2012, specifically the HD 7750. Without shaders, however, you could see upwards of 500 FPS, as well. Minecraft's easy to run, with, the vanilla version anyways. Overall, Minecraft Java will run perfectly fine without shaders, and maybe with shaders at 720p. On to the next benchmark. And also what I mean by it'll run better at 720p with shaders, it'll probably hit around 50 to 60 FPS. Next up, with the most popular esports game in the world, we have Counter-Strike 2 running at 720p with the low setting selected, and the game is running great! At these low settings, the game achieves an average of 73 FPS with 1% lows down to 56. This is very playable for a casual user, but isn't what I would call a competitive experience. Maybe dropping the resolution down even further, or different maps might make it more usable for a competitive player. Also, in the first few sets of matches, there will be major stutters due to the GCN-ness of this R7 card. Overall, CS2 runs pretty darn well in this $25 14-year-old low-end rebrand. On to the next benchmark. And also what I mean by GCN is that all GCN cards, ranging from GCN 1 to 5, so basically the HD 7000 series, all the way up to the Vega series, they all suffer from the same stutter issue when, it loads in the shaders for the first time. But yeah, anyways, on to the next benchmark. Next up, with an extremely demanding driving simulator here, we have BeamNG Drive running at 720p with the low setting selected, and the R7 card puts up a valiant effort here. We are on Grid Map V2, which is a pretty simple map for BeamNG. At 720p with the low setting selected, the R7 450 pulls a decently playable average of 63 FPS with 1% lows down to 45. There were a few initial stutters, but not so much as to be deemed not playable just due to the stutters. The 4 gigs of VRAM was overkill for these settings, as BeamNG with these settings used only under 2 gigs of VRAM. More demanding maps will run worse, like West Coast, and also more traffic could hurt performance, but they'll hurt less because of the 4 gigs of VRAM. Overall, BeamNG runs better than I expected on this $25 low-profile GPU. Pretty impressive stuff here. On to the next benchmark. Next up, with a rather famous Doom title here, we have Doom Eternal running at 720p with the low preset, and things aren't going well. This is a Vulkan title, and for anything that is GCN 1, 2, or 3 based, Vulkan will struggle. This is due to the support level of Vulkan on GCN 1, 2, and 3, being only 1.2.170, which means that most Vulkan games won't even launch as well. They mostly require 1.3, and this only got 1.2. Doom E is one of the only exceptions, and also Doom 2016. At 720p with the low setting selected, the R7 450 scrapes together an average of 35 FPS, with 1% lows down to only 22 FPS. The 1% lows are caused when in more demanding areas, as the R7 450 starts to struggle. Maybe 50% resolution scale, or maybe an even lower resolution, might fix the issues of the bad frame times. The 4 gigs of VRAM is doing a lot of heavy lifting, as the 2 gig variant of this card barely even launches the game and struggles to load in the textures properly. Overall, Doom E is barely a pass, and even saying barely is, well, debatable. On to the next benchmark. Next up, with arguably a AAA game, we have Wreckfest running at 720p with the low setting selected, and the game is running alright. There is a Wreckfest 2, but it needs DirectX 12.0 support, in which this card only supports DirectX 11.1. We can see this being a problem in a lot of newer titles. At these settings, the R7 450 manages an average of 50 FPS, with 1% lows down to 38. This is once again barely usable, as this is a competitive racing game unlike BeamNG, with the need for precise input. More intensive maps and more AI opponents will cause the FPS to drop slightly, but since we have 4 gigs of VRAM, that won't be a bottleneck. Overall, Wreckfest runs just about alright on this $25 rebranded budget GPU from 2012. On to the next benchmark. Next up, can it run Crysis? Since I am broke, I do not have the remastered version on hand, so the original from 2007 it is. This game was designed for GPUs with 512 megs of VRAM, so more VRAM will not help much. At 1080p with the high settings selected, the R7 is just barely managing it, Averages of 38 1% lows down to 29 mean that the game is running solidly above 30 FPS, but since it's a shooter game, this game will definitely benefit from an average of 60 FPS or higher. Different areas and special effects like fire will cause the frame rates to drop slightly as shown on our 1% lows. It is still great to see that for any older games, or used as a retro card as this fully supports Windows XP, this GPU will handle it just fine. On to the next benchmark. Next up, with an infamous Bethesda title here, Fallout 4 is running at 720p with the medium settings selected, and the game is running alright. At these settings, the card pulls an average of 47 FPS and 1% is down to 35. Did you notice anything? There would normally be stutters if you bounce around the 60 FPS engine frame rate cap, but there aren't any here for some reason. These stutters are called the Bethesda stutters, which are found a lot in this generation of Bethesda games like Skyrim SE and Fallout 4, but here, the RSM 450 is somehow not affected by this. This is the first time on this channel where Fallout 4 is actually running smoothly while not being locked at a solid 60 FPS. Pretty interesting. Anyways, on to the next benchmark. Next up, with the famous AAA title here, we have Skyrim SE running at 720p with the medium setting selected, and the RSM 450 is handling it. Averages of 41 FPS and 1% lows down to 40 means that the game was playable. The 1% lows were caused by a Bethesda stutter which occurred here but not in Fallout 4. This GPU just acts really weird sometimes, especially in Bethesda games. This game does not demand much in VRAM, as this will run perfectly fine on a 4GB GPU at 1440p Ultra, so 4GB of VRAM did not help the R7 much. Overall, as long as you can tolerate a bit of Bethesda stutter, Skyrim SE is very playable at 720p with the medium setting selected. On to the next benchmark. Second to last benchmark here, we have a famous 2025 indie game. Hollow Knight Silksong here is running at 1080p with the max setting selected, and the game is running great. This is expected as this game ran fine on a laptop with the integrated Intel HD 4009 GPU. But this is still an interesting benchmark as it does fully use the crap out of the GPU no matter how powerful it is. At these moderately intensive settings, the R7 pulls an average of 153 FPS with 1% lows down to 114. Very playable and a very high frame rate experience. Different areas could affect the performance, but overall this GPU will run the crap out of Hollow Knight Silksong, even at 4K at over 600 FPS. On to the last benchmark. Last benchmark of the day, we have Cyberpunk 2077, which I am genuinely impressed that this even launched on this 2012 low-end rebranded GPU. Actually, it's been rebranded more like 6 times, so rebranded GPU times 6. But even though it launched, it did not run well. I forgot to test this on the Ryzen 5 7600X PC, so please keep in mind that this is how it performed in the $50 PC with an i5 6500, which it should still not ball like the R7 450. The settings we had to use in order to see double-digit FPS was not good at all. At 1024 by 768 with the lowest settings, and FSR 3.0 set to ultra performance mode, which, yeah, the game does not look good, and it didn't even run that great either. Averages of 23 FPS with 1% lows down to 15 means that this is not playable in the slightest, especially for a shooter game. This is a AAA game from 2020 that struggles to run on 2026 hardware, so like I said earlier, very impressive that this game even launched on this weird old cheap card. Different areas will cause the FPS to drop to the close single digits, but overall, Cyberpunk 2077 is a fail on this $25 GPU. On to the conclusion, kind of expected. So, in conclusion, how will this card perform? Well, for the money, it definitely blows some expectations out of the water. This is slightly less powerful than the GT 1030, being around GT 1010 levels of performance. Since this GPU has 4GB of VRAM, it'll launch and run just about every game out there that'll work on DirectX 11.1. That's a huge asterisk right there, since most of them need DirectX 12. Unfortunately, since Budget Builds did a video on this card, it shot up from around $10 to $20 in the US market for the 4GB model, up to $20 to $30, since Budget Builds said that this was an underappreciated card. If you can find one for $10 to $20, this is a steal, but for $20 to $30 rather, you can find a FirePro W5100 that has 33% more performance, full DirectX 12 support, and also 4 display outputs, and also based on the much better GCN2 architecture. Overall, for an old budget GPU from 2012 that was rebranded like 6 times, it does pretty well in these very demanding modern-ish tests. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. See ya. Oh, and also some other options to consider that aren't the R7 450 is the Quadro K620, which performs just as good, although it does have, the same issues, but it's much, much cheaper, like 14 to 15 bucks. Anyway, see ya.